Astra Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last week, we talked about our favorite Academia Scribe, aka the only Academia Scribe, Al Hatham.
It's Outrider Al, here to introduce our full episode on Outrider Amber.
Are you scouting for some visuals for this week's episode? Well, glide on over to our site. It's talesofteyvat.com, where each episode has its own dedicated page with photos, videos, and fun comments brought to you straight from Outrider Tiff.
Our site also includes links to past seasons and special episodes, artist spotlights from the community for every episode, and some other fun goodies.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you may want to see in the future.
What was that?
Who is that?
Didn't we reserve Angel Share?
Is that six-fingered Jose again?
He interrupted us last week.
I can't deal with Jose right now. I mean,
Yeah.
Jose, is that you?
Oh, sorry about that. My translator had a little glitch. It should be fixed now. Hey, what's up? It's your girl Beefy from the Shade Chamber, chairwoman of the board.
thank God it's not Jose.
Oh, Beefy, we're so glad it's you.
Ah, Beefy.
How did you get here from the Jade Chamber?
I had a hell of a time getting here, let me tell you. The guards outside Angel Share, let me tell you, not exactly the most pro-hilly churl outfit.
Yeah.
I had to throw hands with Swan out there, like, to even just like get to the front door. And I'm like really sick of that dude. So
Oh, I'm so
Aw.
sorry. It's usually Nimrod, and it's fine. You can just walk right by.
You give Nibron like 5 Mora, he lets you in.
right on. Too bad I'm a broke bitch.
But Beefy, why are you here? What brought you all the way to Mondstadt?
Well, I thought I would help you break the news that our two fine podcasts have joined forces like a Klingon wedding, realizing that our joint power could not be stopped by gods or man or the universe to create Shades of Teyvat, the community Discord server for both Tales of Teyvat and the Shade Chamber podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yes! If travelers haven't seen, we launched our server over this past weekend with the Shade Chamber, and there is a link to join the Discord in this episode, also on our website, talesofteyvat.com. There's also a link in our bios on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, and Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. It's an awesome community already, and it's been only a few days.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So fun. It's super chill. I think we realized there was like a lot of overlap between our audiences. Like it skews older, chill, lore oriented, shitpost happy, just like, and we're like, this could be really cool if we like pooled together and just like got everyone in one server for just like a really fun, cool hangout space for people to just like talk shop about both podcasts and Genshin itself and anything else that kind of strikes your fancy. It's been really fun. We even kicked it off with an inaugural stream where we did boss run challenge requests from people in the audience where they had to shout out a boss and a team comp that we, playing co-op, then had to attempt.
Yes. So you may have seen Tales of Teyvat and the Shade Chamber streaming on Twitch or YouTube, but we will be doing some more casual streaming and unannounced streaming in the server. So if you want to watch us play Genshin really badly, aka I chased Beefy as Nouvelette around Poisson as child for like
She
20
never
minutes.
caught me. Never.
You found your place.
And begrudgingly, you can also talk about Honkai.
Yes.
There's a Star Rail section. Thank you.
And a general community area. So if you want to talk about any Genshin, Honkai art that you've made, we have a creator section. We want to see what you're doing. It's
Hell
hard
yeah.
for us to keep up with you guys on
Mhm.
social media all the time, especially across all the different platforms we have nowadays. So to be able to have everyone in one place, we're really excited. And we're really happy to be with the trolls.
Yeah.
Woo!
But Beefy, thank you for stopping
Oh,
by. You better get out of
shit.
here before Charles comes to open up.
Oh god, you're right.
I don't know what he'll think if there's a hilly troll here.
Don't worry, we can put you in a trench coat.
Think you could like pass me a couple bottles of dandelion wine before I go? We don't get a lot of that in Leeway.
Oh, absolutely.
Venti.
Yeah, Venti will meet you at the back and he'll help you out.
Awesome.
Like 5 kegs worth. Let's go.
Hell yeah. I think I could fit like a couple in my bra, one in my hair,
No worries.
Yeah.
Venti will help you.
Perfect.
one under the mask because I don't know what's in there.
Maybe it's a purse.
Yeah, maybe it's just a little clutch. Anyway, yeah, that'd be fantastic. I will see you guys on the server as soon as I figure out how to get back up to the Jade Chamber.
Yes, get there safely.
luck.
Don't respawn because you won't respawn with wine.
Call the Hudson
No
Circle.
promises. Oh man, okay, these cakes are pretty fucking heavy. All right, here we go.
Do you need like help with them?
No, I think I'm fine. Unless you could throw me to the Jade Chamber from here. Oh shit! Oh fuck! It's the fun. Oh yeah!
Oh,
Run! Run!
Oh, fuck. I tripped on my Louboutins. Ow!
I hope that she gets back with her wine.
I hope the Louboutins are safe.
I've still got one.
Anyway, I guess it's time to talk about Outrider Amber. Amber always makes me think of Score Bunny from Pokemon. I think that's interesting. But I don't know who else thinks that.
Wait, which
I
one?
figured too. Score Bunny from. Wait, what generation is that?
I think it's the third generation.
From Sword and Shield?
From 8.
Yeah, that's Gen 8.
Gen 8. I thought Score Bunny
Gen
was
3
nine.
is Torchic. My boy. My chicken.
Well, I love me some Score Bunny.
Score Bunny is fun.
So the first time we meet Amber, it's like meeting a giant, fluffy, friendly rabbit in the wild. She is the second character in Genshin Impact that we meet, but the first playable character that we meet, because the first person we meet is Paimon. And I have to say, I had a coworker who had started playing Genshin and came to me the one day and said, Amanda, I'm really lost. I'm really confused. Like, it tells me I have to find somebody, but I can't find them. And I was like, oh, well, did you talk to Amber? And they were like, who is Amber? And I was like, okay. So they come to work the next day with their iPad. And I'm looking at it, and they had unlocked all of Mondstadt, but never met Amber.
What?
Somehow avoided Amber completely.
That's amazing.
Hold up. We first meet Amber right outside of like the Whispering Wood, right?
Yeah, right off the Falcon Coast area, like where we meet Paimon and we're drawing, and we're like, yeah, that's what happened to us. So they just like somehow veered left.
Way left.
Way left and never met Amber. And I was very happy to be like, I'm your Amber right now.
Or were you her Paimon?
Maybe I was her Paimon. I'm not sure, but it was very funny. Especially, it was like 2 years into me playing the game, and I was like, I think it's Amber. Oh, I hope that's who you're supposed to be meeting.
Yeah.
What was everyone's first impressions on Amber?
I had a visceral reaction. I'm like, no, this is not happening. I think looking back at it now is so interesting because we have this very whimsical moment of like Amber somersault rolling off a cliff in front of us, and it's like, hi, I'm Outrider Amber. I'm like, okay, whose child is this?
Yeah, you're like, why is this person so perky in my face right now?
Exactly. We just saw a dragon. I'm far more interested in that. Like, can we see Dvalin again? Like, that's my priority here. And we're just, honky dory, and she's just bright and happy and fluffy. And I'm like, okay, this is how the whole game's gonna be. We're gonna be friendly. It's gonna remind me of all the like younger anime I used to watch, and it's like it's not the journey, it's the friends we made along the way. And sitting here now and looking at how many dead children there are, what is she smoking?
We've made like 60 something friends along the way.
That is true, but there is not honky dory.
I know what you mean because she almost has that like toxic positivity vibe
Mm-hmm.
going on where you're like, oh, is this game for children? Like, am I playing a game that's made for little kids? And because you meet her so early and you haven't experienced the darkness that is Genshin.
You haven't met your first dead kid.
Right.
Or your first orphan.
So at first it's a little like off-putting. It's like, oh, is this what this game is going to be? And then eventually she becomes kind of endearing because most characters are kind of not that.
Yeah.
And also she's such an underdog that you kind of can't help but root for her in a way because everyone hates her.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder how many people read the manga too before they started playing Genshin, because I know it was on Webtoon. Because if you read the manga first, you have like a similar, but at least like a little more adult view of Amber. where she's still
Yeah.
very positive, but you've learned pretty early on that she's seen a few things and that she's able to fight and she's smart.
Yeah, she in the manga she has such emotional intelligence,
Yes.
and you realize that that positivity has a purpose behind it.
Especially with Kale in the manga,
Yeah.
where I feel like without having the angsty Kale thrown into play in the game, you're kind of like, ugh. Where in the manga, you're like, oh, she's really trying to help her. She's trying to show her the light.
Right.
You know, it's funny that you said that she has that toxic positivity. I think that was the perfect wording for it, because when I first met her, I was like, this is the woman who every Monday morning says, Happy Monday.
Oh my God, I say happy
Like it.
Monday.
9:00 in the morning with a bunch of coffee.
Are they giving us the coffee?
That's totally me in the office on Monday.
You're Amber.
Like, just minus the coffee. I have a Diet Coke.
It helps morale.
I don't know. Every time I say it, someone's like, is it? And I'm like, yes, it can be if you try. I think I just work with a bunch of Kayas. But Amber is also the first playable character to join our team. So it's our first look into an element with reactions. No offense to Animo. It can swirl things, of course, but a real reaction, like a burn.
Burn.
Yeah, and a different weapon type.
Yes, a bow. Yeah, because your Traveler is a sword. So you're right away, you're like, ooh, something fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna use a bow all the time. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Nope. Never.
She was fantastic for the first week.
The
Yeah.
first week, like until I pulled a Chi-Chi.
I like the way they did it where we learned to glide with her,
Yes.
because it was important for the story for her, but also, you know, obviously a game mechanic. And it was, instead of like reading a do this, do this, do this, I loved the fact that she taught us how to do it. I wouldn't mind bringing Amber to other nations with me so she could teach me some of the puzzles and stuff. Like, I've forgotten how to do all of them in Chenyu Vale. So if Amber can come do that and teach me again without me having to read, that'd be perfect.
You know what's interesting about gliding? We only really hear about gliding in Mondstadt. Once we get to Sumeru and have Kale, like, she brings up gliding because, of course, she wants to be just like Amber in many ways. But Amber is a 3-time winner of the gliding competition. She's got people threatening her on the Cat's Tail message board saying they're like going to challenge her at the next Ludi Harpatsum gliding contest and they're going to like take her crown. But like everywhere else we go, they say nothing about gliding. Anywhere. Like, they have a whole jade chamber floating up in the sky in Leeway. They never once are like, you can glide down safely into the safe zones.
Is this because they just don't have as many animal slimes to like fucking abuse?
Maybe. I'm not sure. That's a good question.
You've said something that just made me go, wait a fucking minute. How do people get to the damn jade chamber?
They're green gemstones, yeah. If you go to what I call Town Hall of Leeway, where, you know, Rex Lapis's body fell,
Yeah.
you go up and you talk to a guy and you're like, I'm gonna go to the jade chamber. There's like floating green rocks that pop up.
Okay. That's how they would get down to. Because all of a sudden I was like, we've talked about the waypoints and if people know about them, don't know about them. It's like, well, how do they figure that out?
Yeah, because the jade chamber, while it's not a waypoint, is a transport point for us. We can just pop up there, which is so nice. Thank you to whoever did that. So grateful. And just to let you all know too, while Amber is the 3-time gliding champion of Mondstadt, she also has had her license revoked many times for breaking the rules.
Yeah, she's a little bit of a troublemaker.
I also feel like she taught us how to glide during a crisis. Like, we were in crisis. Dvalin was attacking, and I feel like she was still teaching us how to glide.
Yeah.
I give her a lot of credit for staying calm. Like, I don't know if she did Girl Scouts or what, but it was great.
Wasn't that like the final test? We did the whole domain stuff where we're like dropping deuce bombs on people from above. And then Dvalin shows up and is like, well, okay, go for it.
Yeah, basically.
I feel like the defining characteristic of her personality, besides enthusiasm, is tenacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where she is there to get shit done. And she's going to do it with a smile on her face every time, but she's also not going to let anything stop her from getting done what needs to get done. Whether that's teaching someone how to do something, or even if it goes to the point of where, well, I got to break the rules, but that's just what needs to happen for this to get done. She's going to do it.
And I think that's really shown not only in the game, but there's this one section of the manga where Amber is sent out to investigate and look around, and she runs into a hilly troll camp that's much closer to Mondstadt than it should be. And she decides that she's going to retreat, but then she sees one of those like Fatui metal bugs that we always talk about, and it's sitting on the hilly troll encampment. And she's like, all right, well, I need that. This is literally what I'm here for. This is my investigation. And she just figures out a way. And eventually Jean shows up to try to help her, and she's like, get rid of the bug. And Amber's like, never, because she is so dedicated. Even Jean's there being like, Amber, drop the damn thing. I'm in charge of you. She's like, no way.
She's like, I got this.
I do think she ends up throwing it, though, at some point. They use it as like a weapon against the giant robot thing. It's crazy. Anyway. But yeah, so that's our introduction to Amber. And unfortunately for Amber, she does not have a trailer or a miscellany video at all.
It's sad.
Even Kaya got one. Didn't Lisa also got one, didn't she?
I don't know about Lisa. I know Kaya has one, but Amber instead is introduced to us in videos as like a VTuber. And Barbara is actually filming her. So it's like, are these two friends? Like, I didn't realize that they were close. And Amber's like, hi, I'm Outrider Amber. And I'm going to show you around Leeway today. And she has 2 videos like that, which is so funny to me. And you can hear Barbara in the background going, we're rolling.
I don't think I caught that it was her. That was Barbara.
I think it's the second one when the beta closed for Leeway that you hear that, because Amber's like got her back to the camera and is practicing her lines.
Was this a promotional video for the Teyvat travel guide and Alice made them record this?
It's totally possible. It is absolutely possible, because Amber's definitely met Alice before. She actually was in charge of keeping an eye on Alice when she was in Mondstadt writing the Teyvat travel guide, because Haya was with her at one point, and Alice was like, we should just blow everything up. Like, I can't believe the Animal Archon has so many jagged lines in his nation. Like, I would change things. And Kaya's like, no.
She's even mentioned in the gliding violations of our like flying manual book. It says a tourist named Alice summoned a wind current at windrise by blasting an animal slime and used it to quickly climb great heights with a wing glider.
Yeah.
She's worse than her daughter.
Well, I mean, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
No, not at all.
But yeah, so Amber got assigned to keep an eye on Alice after she told Kaya she wanted to blow things up. And I think that's interesting, though, because Amber didn't officially become an outrider like that until her grandfather left. And according to some context clues in the manga and in the game, that was like 4 years ago. So it's suggesting that Alice was in Mondstadt 4 years prior to the game starting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that she became an outrider right before he left. It was right after he left? Or just, I guess, right around the time.
I actually think there's conflicting information, because
Oh.
I read somewhere that she became an outrider right before he left, but then elsewhere I saw something say that right after he left is when she officially became an outrider within the Knights.
Which is actually a really cute callback when you look at Kale, because it's suggesting that Amber was an outrider trainee, which is basically what Kale is in Sumeru. She's a forest ranger trainee.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a really cute little callback that we've only had 2 official trainees who got the job. Sorry, Noelle.
Yeah.
It's the 2 of them who give very like big sister, little sister, or cousin vibes even. So yeah, it bears a lot of questions though about Alice. Like, was that Alice's first time in Mondstadt? Was she already living there? Because we know Klee considers Mondstadt her home. So, I have questions about that.
Did she bring a bucket of KFC with her?
So many questions, man.
And how do you show up at somebody's house without a gift,
Well, don't you think though that someone in Teyvat would have a voice line about KFC if they've had it? Like, they'd be like, that was finger looking good.
Is it though? Because I beg to fucking differ. Publix chicken is far fucking better.
As someone who doesn't have a Publix anywhere in driving distance, train distance.
Y'all need to come back down so we can have a Jaguar sub. Y'all need a Jag sub.
As someone who's a vegetarian, I'm going to say you're both wrong.
And I accept that.
You can have a vegetarian sub at Publix. You can have whatever sub you would love.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. And you can have it instead of on bread. You can have it in a wrap too.
Are you going to put some of your ranch on it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm down.
I will say I have very good memories of having KFC as a kid, which I know is like so weird, but apparently KFC mashed potatoes was the only thing I would eat as a child.
Oh.
But as I got older and decided that there were more things than mashed potatoes in the world, I would get something called a laptop meal,
I don't know. I think you were onto something as a child.
right? But they had these kids' meals and they were called laptop meals. And so they were boxes that were square.
And then you would open it up, right?
Yeah, you'd open it up and the top on the inside looked like it was supposed to be a computer screen and it would be like different compartments in it. And that introduced me to my love of baked Cheetos. Because they would put a bag of baked Cheetos and a granola bar in there.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why they got rid of it, because that honestly changed my life. But I'm sorry to talk so much about KFC. Now I'm hungry.
I know. I'm like thinking about snacks now.
But yeah, Amber isn't the most notable character in the Archon line after teaching us how to glide. She is a participant in helping us go through and find the Devolent tears, like the crystals that we end up purifying. But I don't really remember her being as involved after that.
Yeah, she kind of, I think she served that purpose of teaching us how to glide and as like an entry point into characters that were sort of higher up in the Mondstadt echelon.
Yeah, it's kind of like, in the Pokemon games, you always have that very first encounter with like your professor. It feels like Amber was that for like the physicality of exploring, and then Lisa was that for the introduction to elemental reactions.
Which I never understood.
It wasn't until like I got really good with like one particular team that I realized, what is supercharged? Oh, that's the thing Lisa was talking about.
I still have no idea. Like there was this event that just happened or is happening. I don't remember if it's over yet, where you have to do elemental reactions. And for the one, it was just pyro and electro, but I must have thought it was Burgeon, even though it wasn't. And I was like, I need Dendro too. I didn't. Totally did not need Dendro for whatever I was doing.
It was one of those events that has a weird name because it's Endless Forms Most Martial.
Oh, what?
And it's like, did that
Yeah.
just not, like, it doesn't flow. So it's like, is it just a literal translation?
It sounds like someone like reached their hand into like a bucket full of words.
Yeah, let's see, whichever order these go in.
We're going to pick 4 words and they're going to be the next title.
Mhm.
Very Hoyo of them. But that's Amber in the Archon line. The end. That's all. We don't get to hang out, anything with Amber.
No, she doesn't even get a hangout. She has no teaser video, no miscellany video, no hangout.
I know, and I want to know what's going on with her grandfather.
Well, I have an idea, but we'll get there.
Well, her grandfather has, in my opinion, one of the biggest scandals of all of Teyvat. Like social scandals, I should say, because there's a
Right.
lot of scandals going on that aren't social in Teyvat. I think that her grandfather is part of the greatest love triangle ever known to Teyvat.
I don't know about this. But yeah, go ahead and explain the triangle.
So, to give a little background on Amber's grandfather first, Amber's grandfather originally lived in Liyue, and he seemed to be doing Ga Ming's job, where he was a mercenary that helped protect shipments and packages and make sure people got to and from safely. And one day when he was out doing his thing, his group got attacked by a monster and everyone died except for him. Where have we heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up being helped by a doctor from the Knights of Favonius. Who was this doctor? I don't know, because I've never met a fucking doctor in Mondstadt. You know, Lisa's a stand-in, Barbara's a stand-in, maybe Seamus was a stand-in. Sometimes I feel like Albedo might be a stand-in, but who is your actual doctor? Who did Anna go to? Anyway, he decides that he is way too embarrassed to go back to Liyue and decides that he's just gonna stay in Mondstadt since they were so nice to him, and he ends up founding the Outriders. And he really loves Mondstadt, and he decides to start a family in Mondstadt. Eventually, he just fucking disappears. He leaves no note. he just vanishes.
Mhm. Leaves behind his coat of arms, his sword,
Everything.
as if he evaporated.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was really Fontanian.
Oh, if
he
only.
got hit by some water.
A drop of primordial sea came off a child when he visited.
Yeah, when he visited with his whale. You never know. But yes, so then he completely disappeared, and Amber has not seen him since.
Then there are rumors that he defected. And there's even a little bit of evidence that might back that up because according to the Chingsei bulletin board, he shows up in Chingsei Village 40 to 50 years after he left Chingsei Village and has been seen skulking around, not really talking to anyone. And no one knows for sure exactly where he lives.
And the biggest clue on it is like one of the first messages claims that he flew in on a wind glider.
Yeah.
Can we just go over what exactly defecting means again? It like they're saying that he like did something bad.
Like that he switched sides, that he switched from the Knights to maybe like an enemy team. I almost took it as like maybe he's switched over to the Fatui or something.
But that would have been then when he defected in the beginning, when he never came back, because it was 40 to 50 years. Or are they saying he returned now 40 to 50? Wait, I'm sorry. Did I confuse that?
So first, Leeway saved and was in Mondstadt, stayed there for about 50 to 40 years, and then came back to Leeway, supposedly.
Yeah, the rumor is that this guy who just showed up is this person who was around 40 or 50 years ago.
Who had defected 40 or 50 years ago.
No, I think it meant the rumor is that when he left, when he disappeared from Mondstadt, he was defecting from Mondstadt.
Oh,
And that's why it was like a scandal.
gotcha.
And Amber is like, no, like she obviously doesn't want to believe that. And she's trying really hard to sort of uphold the legacy of the Outriders because he founded the Outriders and taught all of the Outriders of Mondstadt everything they know.
What's interesting about him popping up in Kinsei Village, possibly, is that Granny Ruoxin, who is the person in charge of Kinsei Village, she's up in that bigger house-looking thing. She talks about a man that she loved who boarded a ship, and she never saw him again, even though he promised her that they would settle down together when he came back. She had decided that she was going to be an actress, and she was an actress at the Hiyu Tea House along Fanyer. He actually was in love with her. And Fanyer is the owner of the Hiyu Tea House now, and he can be found there, so you can go and like talk to him. And he's a retired opera singer and a known actor of great renown as well. So these two this actor-actress duo who worked together and performed together at the tea house did not get together and marry as one of them would have hoped because the other was in love with Amber's grandfather, possibly.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's stated on the bulletin board or in one of her lines, but basically she was engaged or to be engaged with a mercenary, supposedly Amber's grandfather, who we still don't have a name for this man. And he went out one day on a job and then never returned. And like, is this a case of some telenovela amnesia?
Is this a case for Detective Paimon? Move aside, Hazo. There's a new detective in town.
Possibly. But there is also an assumption that Amber's grandfather trained Eula.
Yeah, it's in one of her storylines or her friendship storylines where she expresses that a man, a very elderly man, taught her kind of the way of at least his term of fighting. I don't know if she claims it to be Outrider style, like how it says in Amber's skill set, but he was training her and there was a familiarity to him.
Can we talk about what an Outrider even is?
Yes, I just want to add quickly though, that would make sense if he defected, like Brandon suggested, and he didn't learn a different battle style because of that, or if he knew a different battle style from being a mercenary, because we're going to talk a little bit about what an Outrider does and why it's so different than how Eula fights.
Yeah, so from what I could find, the Favonius Warbow actually describes Outriders as archer scouts who have excellent tracking skills and the ability to sense danger. And Mika also has a voice line that says that his role, which is the role of a frontline surveyor, and that of Outriders is similar, that they both operate ahead of the main force. So, an archer scout pretty much sounds accurate to me. Also, we know that part of their job seems to be spotting suspicious people and interrogating them. And also they have daily patrol duties.
They also have like a very specific style of fighting where they use their wind gliders as a form to kind of like rain down from above, which is one of the reasons why, at least what I would assume, flying and gliding is so important to Outriders and the Outrider style in general.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I had completely forgotten that Eula allegedly learned from Amber's grandfather. So why is her style different?
I have a theory, and this comes with the telenovela theory I threw out there. So if we are to assume that Granny Roxanne, or however we pronounce her name, was in love and like was courting Amber's grandfather, maybe he had amnesia, and about 40, 50 years later he pops up and is like, I had a whole life, I had a whole family, I had a thing, I had a very important date, to keep the rabbit symbology flowing here, and just left to go find. But that wouldn't really make sense to a certain degree. I don't know if he really did defect. I think it's possible that he kind of got fed up with the politics of the Knights of Favonius, because 4 years ago, we know there was a kind of strife within the Knights of Favonius. We see it in the manga, specifically with the events after Diluc finds out who was it not Balthazar? Barnabas. Yes. Yeah.
I think you're thinking of Inspector Iraq.
I am.
Barnabas is in the
right.
Fatui. But yeah, he's the one who was like, we're gonna lie about what happened with Crepus because we can't let people know that a simple merchant was able to defend anything.
Exactly. And I think it's possible because the reconnaissance team and several other scouting teams that are a part of the Knights of Favonius don't claim to be Outriders. They claim different units. And so it's possible that the strife and the political and the bureaucracy of what was happening in the Knights of Favonius at the time kind of pissed him off. And he's like, I'm just going to leave. And they said he defected when in reality, he just left.
Well, I will say, what you're suggesting is that when he got into his accident many years ago, when he was a mercenary, he got amnesia, and that's why he decided to stay in Mondstadt, right?
Yeah.
To comment quickly on the defecting, and then I'll comment on why I think the battle style might be different with Eula. Amber tells us that she was there the day that Diluc quit the Knights. She mentions that in the manga because she was playing hide and go seek with her grandfather, or it was either she was playing hide and go seek, or she was hiding in like a closet to try and surprise him. So it makes you wonder why Amber knew her grandfather would be going into Iraq's office.
Ooh.
And if they were close, because we know that Iraq, even when he was dispelled from the Knights for the way that he treated the Crepus situation, because Jean and Lisa were on his ass, we know that there's still a lot of people who are loyal to him, and that there was a bit of like an uprising appearing within the Knights at one point because of that. So it would be curious if maybe he didn't defect, but his name was attached to that situation because he was friendly with him.
That's an interesting theory.
I will say when it comes to the fighting style with Eula, it's very possible that her grandfather was like Child, where he had multiple skills, especially as a mercenary. Child's weapon is a bow, but he also uses like the dual daggers. And it's possible that as a leeway mercenary, similar to Gaming, that he knew how to use a claymore, because that's what Gaming also uses. I'm not saying that Gaming and Eula necessarily have the same exact play style, but they're kind of, any Claymore character is similar. So it's possible that he was using different skills for different people as well, if that makes sense. Like the Outriders need to be more flexible, hidden, where someone like Eula can be outright and just be hammering down on the foes.
I feel like you're saying Gaming is Amber's cousin.
They look like they could be cousins.
It's possible.
They do.
We don't know if he had knocked up Granny Broken
Yeah, she just talks about, like the biggest lie she was ever told was from
Was
this.
love.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why he would go back to Chingsei Village and then not approach her. Like, why is he skulking around? Something fishy's going on.
Definitely something fishy. I mean, one could say it's still shame.
It could be shame, yeah, for sure.
We also don't know what happened to Amber's parents or grandmother.
I like how they're completely like left out of the story when you read like her friendship
Yeah.
stories and stuff. They're just like, he decided to stay in Leeway, and then years later, Amber showed up. It's like,
Right.
I think there's a little bit in between there, buddy.
Was she just the food baby that came out of him? Kind of like how Athena came out of Zeus, just the fuck out.
I mean, it makes you wonder because a lot of people do say that Ming looks like he could be Amber's brother, and it's not a lie. They do look very similar. I mean, for them having so many different characters, like there's 60-something playable characters right now, guys. Why do they both have the brown hair, the reddish brown eyes? Why do they both have like the red headpieces, you know?
Well, maybe he found out that he had a whole other family that he didn't know about, and maybe that's why he left Mondstadt.
It's possible, or it's possible that like he had a brother and he's trying to find them and connect with them. And Ga Ming might even be the, great nephew of Amber's grandfather, making her second cousins.
It's interesting because we know Ga Ming has a large family.
He's got so many aunties.
We've met a lot of his relatives.
We've avoided a lot of his relatives
We've avoided most of them.
Yep. Understandably so.
We know that they all live over or are existing over in the Yilong Wharf, which is in the Chen Yu Vale region. So I don't know if the family's originally from there. I mean, we do have a pretty intense conversation with Ga Ming's dad at one point. They're in the tea industry. It would also be interesting because we know Ga Ming's father isn't necessarily... We know he's not happy about his son doing dance, but he's kind of proud of his son for being a mercenary. So is that because his father was a mercenary? Amber's grandfather? Like, we don't know.
What if... This is all speculation because I love it. What if Amber's grandfather's brother, who would have been the father of Ga Ming's father, What if he was one of the ones who died in that mercenary group and it was just him that survived? What if he's trying to find his brother's family?
Totally possible, and he doesn't know where to go except for Kinsei Village because that was the last place they lived.
Which is right across the way.
Who knows? We're not, we don't know, of course. But I will say too, just on the note of Amber's grandfather, I cannot imagine how badly everything hurt Amber when her grandfather disappeared. Not even mentioning the defecting part, I'm sure that also broke her heart. But Amber wanted to be just like her grandfather. That was like her life's goal. She spent so much time with him. She was a troublemaker. He always cleaned up after her. She dropped bird nests on his head. She would catch dendro slimes on fire. And he was always there, ready to clean it up. A very fun comparison to like Jean, Kaya, and Albedo with Klee. But he just had this like silent, relentless love for her. And maybe he didn't always outwardly say it, but it was very clear to her. So when he left, I think Amber just didn't know what to do. This one person who had always loved her disappeared. And where a lot of people would have sold, she was like, I'm going to be the best outrider and make him proud. Because I think in her head, she probably thinks he's like dead. She's like, he couldn't have defected. He must be dead.
Maybe, yeah.
Do you think she put all the posters for Traveler's sibling up on the top of the buildings? Because she's like, well, we got to find my grandfather first before we look at your sibling. Why am I obsessed with the posters at the top of the building?
I don't know, but you really are.
I really am. Like, I noticed it's a problem.
It's not a problem. Them being on the top of buildings is a problem. How else is anyone gonna fucking know what to look for? Look for the blonde. There are so many.
Maybe she thinks that her grandfather is secretly going to keep an eye on Mondstadt and see, and not reveal himself. So she's like, hey, Gramps, you see this person, help a granddaughter out.
She just knows that he would probably sit in the highest towers to get good vantage points. So here you go. Boom, boom, boom. But yeah, I have a lot of questions though about like where the rest of her family is. No answers.
He owes Amber an explanation.
Yeah.
Like you can't just disappear on her, go back to Chingsei Village and like not give her any kind of closure. That's really cruel.
It's mean.
Absolutely.
And he's supposedly the only family she has left. The fuck?
Yeah, I really hope they give us some kind of answer on this. Like maybe she'll eventually get a hangout or something and they'll actually look into this. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe he's a part of the underground spy network and he went to Liyue to look into something and had to go on like deep cover.
Or he's dead.
I would enjoy that very much because the other option is he purposely left his granddaughter, and I would not. I could not handle that.
I hope that we get at least a little bit of breadcrumbs about Amber's parents, kind of like we did with Razor. Like we at least know that Razor's parents were travelers and that they seemed excited to have a kid.
Did we learn that from a festival or was that actually a hangout?
That was a
It
festival.
was an event, yeah.
It was the one that was like in honor of the wind.
Right, the booze festival.
But the most important thing we learned about Razor's parents is that they're dead.
Oh my
And
god.
Yeah.
that made Feeny very happy, I'm sure.
Hey, I mean,
She's like, finally, confirmation that people died.
Razor's parents being dead and being adventurers makes it more realistic that they're also Sino's parents. So,
Oh no.
because they had Sino and Razor and they left Razor at home for whatever reason, and they brought Sino with them on an adventure to the desert, and then they died, and then they found Sino and they're like, "Hello, little boy. Welcome to the Temple of Silence."
I'm glad you're still holding on to that theory.
I am all day, every day. And the event that Razor finds out about his parents is Of Ballads and Brews, where we are celebrating the Winelist Fest, Winlese Fest. So that's where we find out about Razor and his parents. But we definitely don't find out anything about Amber and her parents.
No.
But we do find out about her adopted family, which is the Knights of Favonius. And that's really exciting because Amber, when her grandfather left, decided that she was going to be a full-fledged outrider. And it's noted that after her grandfather left, there was a lot of failed operations within the Outriders, and that many of them left or retired and decided to do other things. Some of them transferred, resigned, and Amber was like, no, I am going to keep at it. And a lot of people within the Knights are super proud of her for how far that she's come. And I think that's really sweet. Especially Jean has a voice line about it where she is like, I'm so proud Amber was a little girl and now she's grown up into an excellent outrider, knight, and person.
Our little orphan. Orphan alert.
Aw, orphan alert.
We need to do an official count. Like, how many of the playable characters in this game are orphans?
Can we do that on stream? Because I think that would be a great drinking game.
Oh no. We'd all be like on the floor.
Yeah, we'd be dead.
We have tier lists from orphans that are like Annie to Batman.
We would finish the stream and go straight to the hospital.
Yeah, check myself in.
Can I please? Thank you. 911. Hello, I have an emergency. I'm dying.
So while we're on the topic of Amber becoming a full-on outrider, I do have a question. Do we think she got her vision before or after becoming an outrider? Because I wasn't 100% sure based on her voice lines about it.
I'm pretty sure it was after, because I know it talked about how she thought that becoming an outrider would lead to her getting answers about her grandfather.
Oh.
And once she did, she realized that the answers weren't coming. So she had to sort of forge her own path and sort of give up on that idea of finding out what happened to him. And that's when she got the vision while she was reading a book of fables.
I love that.
You know what's weird about the Book of Fables is that the official description is a book mistakenly taken by Amber ... about fables ? It's like, why are you questioning yourself about fables? It just struck me as a very odd description.
That's interesting.
The book is called Wind, Courage, and Wings, and it's about these birds that couldn't fly, and they asked the Animo Archon to help them, and the Archon blew out some dandelion seeds. I'm assuming it's Venti, but just in case, they blew out dandelion seeds so this way the birds could fly, and they stumbled because the wind was too mild. So like they went to this gorge and they jumped from there. They were successful. They tried really hard and they were able to fly. And they went back to the Archon and they're like, look, we figured it out. We just need a stronger wind. And the Archon said, actually, all you really needed was courage. And they said, like, they were the first birds in the land to learn how to fly. And that's when she realized she needed her own courage.
To like stand on her own and figure out what she brings to the table. And then voila, magical gemstone on her belt or wherever she has it.
The Natlan Archon was like, here you go. Family issues. I know there's we don't have any official correlation between the Archons and the visions and everything, but just makes me feel like the Natlan Archon's gonna have daddy issues or mommy issues, like something's gonna, maybe they're an orphan.
I mean, who's not?
I'm an orphan. Or maybe their parent is a sovereign and they're like, well, my dragon parent is dead. So all you don't deserve it. I don't know.
Well, that's true. Even the dragons are orphans.
No, poor dragons. The dragons. But some other fun things with Amber. Amber's actually really good at TCG.
So good. Fucking shit, man.
And she has a nickname in TCG. She's the cheerful torchbearer. And we actually play her in that one TCG event. And they're like, you're going to be playing against Cheerful Torchbearer. And then we sit down and it's Amber. And we're like, oh, okay. She's also a pyro character that is not a fan of the rain. And I just find that to be amazing.
I wonder if she plays D&D like Clorend and the other Fontanian characters.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
She just wants to be invited.
Is that going to be the new thing that sweeps Teyvat? They're going to have a ton of events.
I hope so.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
So Amber, while she hasn't had a hangout, she's been in a lot of events.
Mm-hmm.
She was a primary or kind of focus in Ballads and Brews, in the second Windbloom, of Receiver of Friends from Afar, the Feline Fortress, Shadows Amidst Snowstorms. And we actually get a lot of really cute information from these events about her, which is always fun. So in Ballads and Brews, which was what we just mentioned, the one about Razor, where we find out Razor's parents are dead. Mm-hmm. We actually find out that Amber and Eula have been teaming up to keep an eye on everything.
Oh, that's a nice way to put it.
I will say, I kind of felt like Amber and Eula were using work as an excuse in this event to hang out and go make out in the corner.
They just be macking on each other the entire time.
They basically say that Eula wanted her team to be able to enjoy the wine festival. And so she created a schedule that mostly put Eula on the job during the day. And so Eula and Amber are keeping an eye on things because with all the vendors coming in to town from Dormant Port, there's just a lot more happening. So they're in charge of the mercenary vendor route, but they're totally just making out.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, wait, didn't the vendor need us over here behind this booth?
Oh, maybe I dropped something.
I think I left some inventory over at the hot springs.
Is this when we learn that they have lunch together all the time too?
Isn't that during Eula's story quest, her introduction?
Oh, it might be because Eula talks a lot about the fact that Amber's the only person nice to her.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know that at some point we have lunch with them at the Good Hunter.
Oh, because Sarah, who runs Good Hunter, is also nice to Eula.
Yeah.
They're the only two understanding people for some reason.
They're trying to explain her weird personality to us. No, it's okay. She's not really going to get vengeance.
And I do want to take a moment while we're talking about Sarah, just to remind everyone, as I like to do, that Sarah has a crush on Kaya. That's it. We do get to see Amber, Eula, and Mika have a meal at the Wangshu Inn after this year's Lantern Rite, where there was a small event where the chef at Wangshu Inn got hurt, and so we're filling in. And they actually come to have dinner there. And Amber mentions that she isn't as familiar with Liyue cuisine as she used to be because her grandfather used to make Liyue dishes for her all the time. Because Eula and Mika are like, well, Amber, what should we order? And she's like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Amber has like a really nostalgic voice line too if you talk to her afterwards, where she says, I thought I'd forgotten how the meals tasted, but it all came rushing back. She said, I do my Outrider training with him until the evening and then wait patiently at the dinner table. I would just sit there with the smell of delicious food wafting in from the kitchen, waiting for him to finally emerge with the goods. Sometimes we'd even have Eula around for dinner, and even though she'd always find something to complain about, I could tell that she really enjoyed the food.
So this love affair has been going on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of Mika as like Amber and Eula's adopted child.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And like cousin Kale comes to visit and they sit at the kids' table while Amber and Eula sit at the adult table.
With Sucrose too at the kids' table. They're
Yeah.
And there's one other smaller event that Amber is in, which is the Feline Fortress, which is a more recent event where we have the adventurer who's making like a cat hotel, basically. And that's where we get the, what I call Kaya cat, the cat with the scar that needs an eye patch, and then he'll be twins with Kaya. And, you know, the cat lived with Albedo, so it's perfect. There's 3 or 4 different cats that we meet during that event, and you get to play with them. This is where they introduce petting cats, which is great. Thank you for finally doing that. And after we do our thing with each cat, they get a friend at the end. And Amber is one of those friends. She befriends a cat named Bunny, which, like, duh, with all of her bunny.
Yeah.
And she actually says a little bit about Outriders. She says Outriders are different from scouts who need to both quickly obtain intelligence on the enemy, but also strike first. Outsiders need to do their best to stay out of sight and use every means at their disposal to gather intel. Sometimes the chirping birds, the bouncing of squirrels, the grunting of boars can tell me what I need to know about monsters. And if I'm lucky, animals that are familiar with me will come up and warn me of monsters of their own accord when they see me in the areas I often patrol. So Tiff, this is your girl.
Yeah. She's out there hanging out with the animals.
She's like, she's still white.
She could be.
I mean, she's openly admitting that she's like,
Yeah. The animals come tell me. Tell me when they hear things.
Snow White and the Six Pygmies.
Yeah, basically.
As long as she doesn't pull a Fiona and just blow up a bird with her.
Oh no. And during that event too, we ask Amber like why she's at this like cat hotel. And she's like, oh, well, a friend of mine is really crafty and she made a bunch of cat toys, but she doesn't have a cat. So she really wasn't sure if the cats were going to like the toys. So I offered to come in and see if they like the toys because she's really shy. So
I mean, that has to be Eula, right?
we've never known Eula to be crafty though.
I
Yeah.
mean, but she's like a straight A student in any class she takes because trauma.
Also, lesbians love cats.
I was thinking it was Sucrose or Noelle.
Oh, yeah, it could totally be Noelle.
I went to Kale because of the Kale thing, but I guess it wouldn't make as much sense being she's not right there.
Oh, yeah, because Kale's little minion is a cat, right?
Yes, Kale's little thing is called the Colin Ann bar, close enough, which she actually made herself. It's really sweet because there's a voice line about when Kale was leaving Mondstadt, she had been wearing clothes that were Amber's and she tried to sew them before giving them back to Amber. She did not find Amber, but instead found Lisa, and she went to hand over these sewed up clothes to Lisa, which they were a mess, by the way. And she looked and saw that Kale's hands were covered in like little cuts and things and pricks and blood from trying to sew. And Lisa sat her down and like cleaned up her wounds and bandaged her hands and told her not to rush when she did her studies in Sumeru. And in that voice line, it then flashes forward to like the kids in Gandharvaville wanting to play with Cullen Ambar. So it makes it seem like Amber created the Baron Bunny, which then inspired Kale to make her own.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's like no voice line about Baron Bunny that like says exactly that Amber made it. Like there's a lot like Alice wants to make it better. Klee does help her make it better. She teaches Noelle how to make one.
Yeah.
And I think she tells Traveler that she would make one for them, but that it wouldn't be explosive.
I love that she taught Noelle how to make one, and Noelle keeps it on her at all times for luck.
Yeah, and it won't explode though. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
And the Baron Bunny, according to Amber, hails from a storied lineage. Amber stopped keeping count at the 893rd. So these things die a lot.
Yeah. So she's building a new one every time one explodes.
She needs to get like a factory going. Can Lisa make a spell? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Lisa can use her coffee machine that she spent all that money on. Or tea machine. It's not coffee, it's
She
tea.
should just go through Alice, who I'm sure would get Dory, to open up a factory with like cheap labor.
Yeah, it would end up costing her like 5,000 more though each bunny.
It would be like a sweatshop.
No, she'd force Kave.
She forces Kave to do it. She's like, this is how you get my money back, bitch.
Can you see Kave with like a hairnet and a factory line, like creating Baron bunnies?
I can, honestly. Anything to move out of Elhatham's house. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yeah.
So I can have Elhatham over to my place.
Oh.
Damn.
But so Amber is definitely one of the main characters of two separate events. One is an event we've talked a lot about, which is Shadows Amidst Snowstorms. That is the Suspedo event. So we run into Amber at Dragonspine, and we're like, what are you doing here? No one is ever here except for Albedo. And she explains that the Adventurers Guild is doing a training and that they're short-staffed because someone didn't show up. And she's there to help them. But also, while she was in Dragonspine, she found a lost kid named Joel. Oh, Joel.
Poor
Poor Joel.
We won't go too much into the exact storyline of this because we have an entire episode on the event itself.
Yes.
But we'll talk a little bit about Amber's part in it. Amber tells us that Joel's dad is missing and that Joel and his dad love to build snowmen together. So Amber has decided that we are going to build snowmen with this kid. And she's also told Eula that she has to do it.
So wholesome.
Yeah, and Eula really doesn't question it. She's like, okay.
I mean, you do what your girlfriend wants.
Did you know that the description of there's like a snowman's face thing that you can put in your teapot, like if you build your own snowman in your teapot, and the description of it is like basically like a grumpy snowman face, and Amber said that she made it, that it was inspired by Eula. And shockingly, Eula's reaction to that was just laughter. Like it actually made her laugh. I thought that was really sweet.
You know why that made her laugh? She was like, Amber, you're just going on the vengeance list, bitch. She's laughing as she's writing in her, what is it, the death note? Book.
Yeah, her death list.
Little black book. She's like, you're lucky that you're so far down, my love. Right after my parents.
Everyone in Mondstadt.
I would say one of the best things, though, that we get from that event is when there's an avalanche and Eula goes and grabs Amber and pulls her out of the way. She's like, fuck all the rest of you. You can all get buried. I'm pulling my girlfriend over here. And it's the most whimsical, like romantic little thing.
It's hot.
Yeah, and like every lesbian playing this game suddenly ran over, opened a blank document, and started furiously typing their fan fiction.
You want to know too something? I feel like that moment distracts us so much in the game that we don't notice the fact that when Bennett goes to fall off the edge, the Traveler goes to reach for him and Eula pulls the Traveler away too.
She's like, let him fall.
She's like, it's not gonna help.
And that's when Albedo like deep dives off the cliff and it's like, you're like, oh no. We also find out about the hot springs in this event.
Yeah.
True.
When do I get to go to the hot springs?
Exactly. But
And how many characters are at the hot springs now, you know?
Oh yeah, a whole lot, I'm sure.
There's a fanfic of a lot of people out there.
Does Chalk melt? Can he get in a hot spring?
it kind of just chars.
Well, in that case, though, he would melt in the rain and he doesn't. So
He'll be Genshin's darkest character.
Oh no!
Oh, I was thinking emotional darkness, and I was like, Brandon, we had so many characters dissolve in Fontaine. It's like the same thing. Now I get it. It's true though. We don't really get like a lot of Amber lore outside of that, but she's a big player in it. You know, her and Eula both. And we get to see some cool Amber fighting in the big cutscene against Whoppy.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, again, it's a limited event and all that kind of stuff, but because we do see her in all these little side events, and it's nice to hear her talking and befriending everybody and all those types of things, but like actually seeing her with her bubbly personality actually be like a good fighter and stuff, I like the juxtaposition of it all.
Mm-hmm.
As cool as that fighting was in that cutscene, though, it's not as cool as her fighting in the manga, I'm just going to say.
I mean, everyone's fighting in the manga is like 300% better.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. And we've talked a lot about like the Kaya Diluc fighting in the manga and why we don't get that. But Amber's is so freaking cool. She's so stealthy.
That and also like special fucking abilities.
Yeah. When do I unlock that constellation?
Exactly. I don't want two Baron bunnies. I want to be able to literally make a force field of fire.
I want so much of it. It's not fair.
Right? It isn't. It's not fair.
I really think that at some point they need to unlock a mechanic where you can turn your 4 stars into 5 stars.
Ooh.
Think about how exciting it would be to like pick and choose, like, okay, which one am I going to work on? Like, maybe you have to get some kind of special ingredients or something and then get like, another constellation or whatever, however they want to do it. But like give them a big stat increase, maybe unlock another attack or something. But like, let us turn them into 5 stars.
Or give them like cool burst animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like make them a true 5-star if you are able to unlock it.
Like I hate comparing Genshin to Star Rail. I really do because
I don't think you do. I feel like you do a lot. I feel like y'all like
you should, in comparison to most people on the internet, I definitely do it a lot less.
I love you, Beans.
People get so mad about stuff with it, but like I don't know, like I don't really care as much. But it'd be cool if like, the Diluc skin, for instance. I wish that the Diluc skin had maybe given us a cool burst animation, because then you have people who are more into like the meta and the battling who don't necessarily have to have a burst animation if they don't get the skin. But you also get people who are like me, who are like, oh my god, I love the burst animations in Star Rail, who can just enjoy it. And like making the characters either more of a 5-star or changing them to a 5-star, kind of like Dan Heng. Like you have a 4-star Dan Heng who joins your party immediately, like an Amber. And then down the line, I mean, it is technically his past self, but we get Fancy Dan Heng and he's a 5-star.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool. But I get it. I'm not going to be mad at Genshin for not doing it either.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did it later. Like if it's like an ace up their sleeve.
Like after the story's done?
Yeah, or just later in the story, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe when we get to Shania, we can finally, because we're all at like level 90. What if we could get to level 100 and everyone gets a special burst animation like in Gen 6 Pokemon, where all of a sudden they get turbo?
I would love it and hate it. So I'd be like, really? I got all my characters like leveled up to just have to level them up more.
Yeah.
But I would love it too, because it would give more opportunity.
More grinding for us.
Maybe I don't like it.
It gives the game an opportunity to fix some of the characters that maybe weren't received as well. You know what I mean? If they have an excuse to go in and fiddle with their stats or their attacks, a character that might have been kind of thought of as like a throwaway character could suddenly become really important.
Especially like it could just turn fully fucking meta. Like we've seen that. We saw how Kaching very early on in the game was like super fucking powerful. And then lots of other characters came out and made other characters kind of redundant. And then all of a sudden, introduction of Dendro as like a mechanic changed the game. So adding something like this could give the chance of breathing new life into older characters, or even characters that people just don't remember or don't see as often.
Before we go too far away from the manga, one of the stories that you all have told me, because I am waiting on reading the manga for reasons unknown, but one of the great things about the manga is the beginning of Amber and Kale's relationship, right?
Yes.
Her little love affair with I mean, Kale looks, not that I don't mean love affair and the fact that she's like obsessed with her that way, but like she looks up to her as like a big sister and like,
Yeah.
Yeah, she idolizes her.
yes.
So we have an episode about Kale, just so everyone knows too. But as a quick recap on Kale, we first meet her in the manga. She has been experimented on by the Fatui, and she has this like black fire power within her that she really can't control, and it's talking to her. And we first meet her as she's coming into Mondstadt. She creates a carriage fire that kills 2 Fatui diplomats. And then somehow or another, Amber is the one that finds Kale.
And then just somehow she just finds her. I mean, I think that the Amber finds, well, I mean, I guess by being an outrider, she finds a lot of stuff, but like that doesn't surprise me too much. Like she's like, oh, there's a little girl who needs help. Here I am.
Well, it's that idea too that you guys were saying earlier that like an outrider is always paying attention and is
Yeah.
always keeping an eye on things and knows what's going on and is stealthy. So Amber saw a newcomer coming into town and saw them look scared and shy and was like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Do you need help?" And Kale has a lot of trauma where most people like throw rocks at her and kick her out of the town because she's sickly, which is terrible.
Yeah.
So she expects Amber to kick her out, and instead Amber's like, no, let's be friends. And like she introduces her to Lisa. She gets her a change of clothes. She brings her to the Ludi Harpatsum festival. They have a good time until Kale has like a PTSD moment. Kale tries to stab Amber, but it's a fake knife, like a prop knife. So even though she does successfully stab her in the chest, she doesn't do anything damage. And Amber does not care. She has no cares in the world. And she has a different outfit in the manga too. Very revealing. Whole belly out.
Amber's
Just like Vanessa.
Yes, Amber has like a different skin. Whole belly out, like short shorts. It's her third outfit because she has a modesty fit and her normal fit. Which, it's so stupid, guys. Her original outfit is called the 5-star Outrider. And it says it's an Outrider's uniform made for maximum mobility. Her modesty fit is called 100% Outrider.
It really isn't too much of a difference.
No, it's really not.
I mean, I use the modesty one just because the color red is darker and I'm like, I love it, but
Well, the description behind the outfit is that it's more formal but no less cool version of the Outrider's uniform. But it has a backstory, which I think is kind of fun. When Amber was first joined the Knights and became an Outrider, she was given 3 uniforms that she could wear. And she's like, for the most part, kept them all pretty good. And then she starts ripping them and staining them, and she's always sewing them. And so she goes on this one expedition and she gets a ton of wolf hook juice all over it, which, by the way, that's her least favorite food. So I'm sure that was not a good moment for her. And she rips it, and she's really sad because she's like, this is my last uniform that I have. And so she sews it up, and it looks really bad. And Hertha shows up, and Hertha's like, hey, you're our one and only Outrider, and I'm here to present you with new clothes. Thank you for all you've done. And she hands her this like more formal uniform that's like so shady, but so nice all at the same time. Like her exact words are, our one and only Outrider. Like, okay, thanks for reminding me my grandfather's gone.
Yeah. Thanks for reopening that wound.
Thanks for reminding me that my job is obsolete.
But you're giving me new clothes anyway. What is the budget for the Knights? But yeah, she has like a very fun, like almost like it's like a nightclub outfit for Amber. Like I feel like she's like, I'm going to the party and I have to look good for this festival in the manga. And she takes Kale out and they try new foods and they do ring tosses. And then she volunteers Kale to be locked in a box for a magic show. And that doesn't go well.
no.
And then later on, Amber and Kale somehow get separated. And that's when Kaya tries to kill Kale. And then Kale looks at him and she's like, please just do it. And he's so taken aback by that he doesn't. And Amber shows up and she's like, stop bullying my friend. What are you doing? She yells at him multiple times for like being mean to Kale. throughout the whole manga. She like brings Kale away with her. The whole crew finally puts like 2 and 2 together that Kale started this fire and whatever. And Kaya, Amber, Diluc, Jean, Lisa, and Sino all work together to not only free Kale of the black fire magic within, but also to keep her safe from Barnabas and the Fatui who are looking for her.
And then she goes to live with Tainari.
Yeah.
Yee.
So much good fan art, by the way, of that. Like fan comics of like Sino explaining to her like who Tignari was.
Mm-hmm.
And like the different PTSD routes that Kale kind of goes down and how she's trying to trust Sino, but then Tignari's like kind of doctory and she's like, are you gonna also stab me with needles?
It's like, no, buddy, we got you. You're gonna be okay.
But I'm really glad that you bring up the manga, Tiff, because that's the other event that is really big for Amber. It's the second Wind Bloom that we get to celebrate, where we get to see the reunited Kale and Amber duo.
Yes.
Which also adds a weird question. I don't know if you guys also felt like this was a little weird. So during the start of that event, Kale says something along the lines of like, did you enjoy the pita pockets I brought last time? So it suggests that Kale has visited Mondstadt since.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Amber is acting like this is the first time she's seen Kale, and Kale is acting like it's the first time she's met any of Amber's friends. So I don't know if that was like a translation thing, if they meant to say that like Kale sent pita pockets.
Well, she gave us pita pockets in Sumeru too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could it be that she's saying, I hope you like the last ones I gave you?
Oh, to like us?
Yeah.
I felt like it was more toward Amber, but that could be it as well. Or I don't know, maybe Amber's visited. We know Lisa's been to Sumeru, so maybe Lisa brought the pita pockets back for Amber.
Yeah, I feel like they do this a lot where it's like these characters are meeting up off screen for us.
Yeah, which is frustrating.
Like, I need to see every interaction, please. Thank you.
Yeah, or make it more straightforward so I understand it.
Yeah.
Because like in that voice line, they are like contradicting themselves right away. But Kale is super nervous and she's been super excited to come to Mondstadt ever since she's been healed of her Elazar. And Amber is super excited that her friend has been healed of Elazar. She's like, yes, my friend is healthy.
It's so cute. My niece.
My niece. Where she definitely introduces her to Eula multiple times. And she runs into like Noelle, Eula, Amber, and Klee together on a patrol, and we learn that they're planning a surprise. And Amber has a really cute note that she writes. I don't know if you guys remember the plot for the event, but Sucrose is trying to solve a riddle, and there are 3 questions for the riddle, and it's like, who is this? Who is this? Who is this? And we ask people to write in what they think the answers to these 3 riddles are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one where we're trying to find a guide. And a lot of people, I guess, suggest Amber. But Amber puts her own note in there. And she says, I think a guide is too grand of a title for me, but I'd love to be everyone's friend. It's something I think I'm good at. I'm an attentive listener. And she says a few other things. But then she writes a note and it says, everything written below this is not meant for Kale. Kale, if you're reading this, please turn away.
I think I remember that. And that was like just weird.
Yeah, she's like, Sucrose and Traveler, only you 2 can see this. And she writes, I've been really worried about Kale lately. She's recovered from her illness, but she still doesn't look all that cheerful. It feels like she still has things that she can't let go of. Allow me to write down my wish here. I hope that Kale can uncover the secret behind the prophecy and find her happiness. Wherever she is and whoever she becomes, I'll always be her friend no matter what. We're not the savior and the saved, but simply good friends.
That's so sweet. That's so classy, too.
It's so introspective. I think, Brandon, you said it earlier, like in the manga, she shows a lot of emotional intelligence, and that comes out in this.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way we haven't seen. You know, we kind of get to see that she's not necessarily just the cheerful, positive person in that moment. She's like, actually, I am worried about my friend, and I don't want people to think I have a savior complex. Like, I just want to be her friend because I care.
It's very cute. I like that relationship, and I do hope we see more of it, even if it is in these small events and stuff like that, just kind of seeing them together. It's just heartwarming.
And then Kale turns around and starts singing Hero by Mariah Carey.
How does that go again?
There's a hero. If you look inside your bunny.
And all I see is Baron Bunny shaking its hips at us.
Yee, 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 yee.
But that's really like, Amber's in that event a lot, but that's really the most we get because it's really a Kale Sucrose event, which
Yeah.
kind of hurt. Like it hurt the soul a little bit because you're like,
Why?
because you're so excited for the Amber Kale reunited like moment. It also makes me sad that we haven't seen Amber in Sumeru yet. And I don't know, like, is her job that indispensable that she can't leave Mondstadt? Like,
I mean, she is the only outrider.
Yeah. Yanfei still hasn't made it to Fontaine to try a case, so.
Oh my god, yes. What the fuck?
well, she doesn't know Fontanian law.
She does,
right?
though. No, she does.
She does. And she hates it because correct.
So why would she go there if she hates it?
Because you need to master all the law when you are Yanfei, when you've done everything.
When you got a client and they got to go to Fontaine, you got to get your little butt on the little boat and go and get a new
Oh my
outfit
God.
from Chiori while you're there.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I have not thought of this at all. No, never.
Can we get boots with the fur but
Can
higher?
Mona get a new outfit from Chiori too? I mean, she's in Fontaine all the time.
Mona already has a modesty fit.
Can we also just have so many more outfits and so many more like cute things to put our characters in? If I'm going to spend this much money on them, I want to dress them up, my dollies.
Yeah, let us play with our e-dolls.
But no, Kale is great. And I want Amber to go there. But Amber has a lot of friends. And as one of you said earlier, it's the friends we made along the way. Amber has made a lot. She has these very generic thoughts about her fellow knights. She wants to help Jean and thinks that she's stressed. She thinks Kai is a chaotic good. And she really just wants to help Klee stop going into solitary confinement.
That'll never happen.
She thinks everything that Albedo does is super cool and she wishes she understood it. And she really just loves being in the Knights. She definitely sees them as her found family, just like they see her as like an adopted kid cousin. Kaya actually even calls her the model of justice, which is cute. Otherwise, most characters are mostly interested in Baron Bunny, which is sad. Like, be interested in Amber. Klee thinks Amber is the best, like, as she does most.
I was gonna say, isn't that like her voice line for everybody?
But D-Luke.
But D-Luke.
Mika and Eula probably have the most in-depth voice lines about her, which is funny because it's like Eula and Eula's adopted kid. So, but also Traveler has a voice line that refers to Amber. As we know, Traveler and Paimon kind of go back and forth a little in some of the voice lines for Traveler. And Traveler says that Amber and Lisa give them sibling vibes, since Amber tends to do a lot of chores and running around for Lisa. But the Traveler says that I'm going to say Lumine and Ether, they say they never had that issue because they were the same age. And so they just didn't have that dynamic. And so Paimon says, well, maybe I'm your older sibling then, since you run around and do all my errands.
Wow.
So that's a little look into what people think of Amber. I think it's annoying that there's only really Mondstadt voice lines about Amber. Like Bennett says that she's also a bad cook.
Because she even talks about the fact that she's a bad cook. Her meal that she makes us is called the Outriders Champion Steak. And you could hardly eat it because it's charred on one side and like uncooked on the other. And I think that even there's like a warning to Traveler, like maybe you shouldn't eat this. It's not good. She's going to give us salmonella poisoning. And then there's no doctor in Mondstadt anymore. So what are we going to do?
And Bennett says maybe she was born unlucky too.
Oh.
The shade.
But also like the shade of himself. So
I mean, I do love the bunny aesthetic for Amber, especially when it comes to like the trope or the archetype of like the young, naive, like hare versus the old, wise rabbit. Because you have kind of her grandfather who is kind of this wise archetype when it comes to like rabbit-esque shit. And then she's super young and super naive sometimes. I mean, she knows a lot about the world, but like the idea that she can make everybody basically her friend, it's a naive ideal, but she's fucking rocking it. And that's super cute, especially like she's extremely lucky, which brings back to the rabbit because lucky rabbit feet. But there's a ton of interesting things, and I love like her constellation is a reference to the constellation of Orion, a well-known archer and in Greek mythology. And like the hair, the lepus constellation in the sky is one of the animals running from Orion's arrows. So it's really cool, like the small things we get with her.
And her constellation's the hare, which is always fun. She's a total Leo, even though I know Leos are a lion, but she's definitely a Leo. Well, from one animal to another, we're going from the bunnies to the cats who deliver things.
The cats eat the bunnies.
I know, Amber, run. Kirara is here with our mail. We do have a few messages today from travelers, so we're going to jump right into that. Our first message comes from Acer, and Acer actually has two messages for us, so we'll get into both of them. Acer's first message says, to me, one of the main aspects that makes this game wonderful is the music. Since each character has their own theme, as heard in their demo videos, I was wondering what each of your top 5 are. Also, are there any songs that inspired you to wish or pull for a character?
Yes and yes. And to answer that second question, it's my number 1 pick. I have them all in order of which ones I love most. But number 1, for sure, influenced me.
Which one? You gotta say it.
Well, let me give some more anticipation.
I was like, what is it?
So my top 5 going 5 and up. So Whisper of Verdure, which is Baiju's theme, did not convince me, but very beautiful. My 4th is C'est Mettrai sous son traînette et un, which is Farina's, because very beautiful. Again, very, very sad. Then I have number 3, Parasite de Louis, which is Nouvellettes. Very franche, very intense. And then number 2 is Hu Tao's Any Last Words, because goofiness. And then number 1, the reason I love Klee. Let's go, Crimson Knight. Let's go!
It is very cute.
I know Klee is not the greatest 5-star. In fact, she could have been a 4-star. I know a lot of people debate that. Her range is very small. I get it. But she's so cute and her song is so fun. And every time we have a like musical based event, that is one of the first songs I find. If it's not on the actual roster, I will find it. I will play it, whether it be my trumpet, my drums, my little harp. I love it.
Well, I took this assignment quite seriously because while I love the music in the game, I usually always listen to the OST albums, which are more of the areas and less of the demo ones. So I went through the albums, which I'll link them all on the site for anybody who is interested to listen to them. And I did a serious, I added the ones I liked and then I whittled it down and then I listened to it again and I whittled it down. There was science in this. So obviously I haven't picked anybody to wish for because of them, but these are my favorite. And I made sure I didn't look at who they were for or what the names were. So this way I wouldn't be kind of oh, I like that one because I like that character. I was trying to separate the two. So my top favorite was the Stern's Anthem Fantasia, that is Nahida's. And there's this little part that I constantly am singing in my head now since I listened to it. That's just these little girl sounding la 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 la, and it's just so fucking adorable. My second one is the Rex Incognito, which is Zhang Li. And then my third one is Awake from a Nightmare, which is A, which just works out. And I think that one though, I love the ups and downs of that song so much. There's a song that's from the band Funeral for a Friend that is almost 3 songs in one. And that song kind of reminds me of it, where it kind of follows this kind of up and down roller coaster type of thing where it's almost different instruments. And that's why I love that one.
I love that you're the Archons.
Yeah, I totally went Archons.
Mm-hmm.
I did end up looking to see who one of my last ones were, because I did only do top 3, but one of my other ones actually was a Farina one. So apparently I am just pulled toward the Archons.
I was going to do what Tiff did, but I did not get a chance to go through and listen to all of those. So I will say, similar to Tiff, like I've always been more struck by music that plays while I'm just like in an area in the game.
Or Dormos.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, that is, of course, that's the jam. But the only character song that has ever really grabbed my attention is Cleese, because it's so ridiculous and delightful. So that's the only one I've ever stopped him and like, wait, come on. This song is amazing. But like as far as like the just songs like in areas besides the jam of Port Ormos, my other favorites are when you're in the cliff tops over the clouds in Liyue, when you're underwater in Fontaine, and I felt like there was one other. I guess my other one was Port Ormos, but those are my favorite ones. Oh no, the other one is I really like the harpsichord music that is in Fischl's castle area and her summer event. I thought that was really fun and different.
You know what else I like? I like the music played when you fight the primordial whale.
Yes, that's hardcore.
It's very
like,
electro,
so
like.
And Tiff's favorite area.
Yes.
She's told us like 700 times.
I believe it's 752 times. I absolutely love the music from Sea of Bygone Eras. And if you have not done that portion, it's you get there from Petrichor, and it is a whole other quest and a whole lot of stuff that you learn. And I have put my characters down there and just sat them down there so I could just listen to the music, because I also think it's beautiful.
It is exquisite.
Yeah, it is good.
I will say, when I was trying 100% in Kanomiya, I found the music there so heartbreaking.
Yeah,
yeah,
it is.
that is another one. Yeah.
I gotta say, I love it because there are certain areas in, I think, almost every region where there is a kind of, it's such a similar like tonal shift in the song, and I can't put my finger on it. I don't know the terms. I just know they're great. Marco Meatball, let us know.
Well, the music in Economy is so amazing because that landscape is so bleak looking, and they made the music sound bleak.
I also love the Dragon Spine music.
Oh yeah, that's probably my favorite thing about Dragon Spine, except for like going all the way to the tippy top. That view is great.
So I did listen to all of them, but I did the like shortened version of it, which I cut to the middle and decided if I liked that peak of it. And my top 3 are Winding Through a Video, which is Tignari's, Order of Silence, which is Sino, and then Contemplation in Snow, which is Albedo's. But I did look to see what I would think my other 2 would be, and they were Time to Shine, which is Ito, and Path of Yaksha, which is Zhao's.
I feel so proud.
Ito's is just like, I really feel like if I used to do kickboxing, and I just feel like if I was going to my kickboxing class, that's what I would want in my ear at all times.
It's such a fucking bob.
Like, I want to like take a comb out of my pocket and brush my hair after like sucker punching a guy in the face so bad to that song.
You know, it reminds me of Yakuza 0.
Okay.
Travelers who don't know, it's a great game, highly recommend. But oof, yes.
I really admired Contemplation in Snow when we were at the Genshin concert.
Oh my god,
that was the first time I really noticed it like that, and I was like, oh, this is really pretty.
I was like, oh my god, it was so good. And then they played Port Ormos, and I was like, yes, the banger is here. But Acer also had a second message for us, which reads, if you could join any organization, society, or group in the game, which would it be? Acer said they consider themselves to be a loyal member of Benny's adventure team, and gave other examples like the Knights of Favonius, the Adepti, and the Arataki gang. I would love to say that I'm a knight.
Of course you are.
I would love to be a knight. That would probably be the one I'd want to be in, but I don't know if I'm actually a knight.
I would say you're a knight. Definitely.
I'm on one of the less fighting versions of the knights. Like, I'm not on the front lines. I want to be the cavalry captain. No horses.
No horses.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. But I'd love to be a knight. I like everything they stand for, and I think I get along with a lot of my coworkers.
I would definitely be a part of the Arataki Ito, which I forgot the full name. Arataki Ito gang. It's got a whole name.
The Arataki Numero Ito Beetle Battle Boss Showdown Bouncing Around Music Fest.
Yes, that one. And I think I would because I would be BFFs with Kuki, but I also think that I would laugh so much. Like Ito cracks me up. Like I don't really care too much for his play style, but I have him and I play with him because I enjoy him that much, and I love Ushi.
No, Ushi.
I'm a control freak, so I'm going to say the hex and circle so I can do whatever the hell I want.
I've got no fucking clue, man. Maybe this is because I just keep thinking about work, but I feel like I would just be a part of the whole justice system in Fontaine. But I don't want to be. That would be, wait, no.
You mean you want to be a part of, you're going to make your own new place called the Fedora Society to rival the Beret Society?
No, you know what? Now you just made me think of it. I'm gonna be part of Spina della Russa. That way I can marry Navia.
So you're going to work for the mob. I was like, I want to be a mobster.
I want to be a
She wants to be a mobster's wife. Yeah.
Yes.
Mom wife.
Specifically. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Acer, for both your questions. We really appreciated them.
Thanks,
Thank
Acer.
you.
Our next message comes from Nihil, or Nihil, Nihil. They said, those sea monsters you guys mentioned in the Zhongli episode, for reference, the infestation of sea monsters that we mentioned,
Little
Oh, yeah.
octopi.
they might be the large snail shells that are scattered all over Liwei's coastlines. I believe there's some of them from in between Liwei proper and the chasm area, because at some point in the past, part of it had sunk in the water too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Ooh.
Wait, now are they talking about the star conches?
No, so if you go to like the stone forest, I think they're talking about like the stone looking seashells they kind of look like rocks, but they're shaped like seashells. They remind me of
Mhm.
like fossils.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which you would see
okay.
like the fossils in Animal Crossing.
Wait, how big are they? I need to see a picture of one.
So there's two things. I was thinking of something smaller, but there are also the giant seashells. Like, you know that one NPC that lives in a seashell?
Yeah, the Granny Chew.
Maybe, I don't know the name. I just know they live in a seashell. So this is like the giant seashell, but I do think there are littler ones too.
Yeah, because these would have to be small because these things were described as really small.
Maybe that's what was originally in Star Conches.
Maybe that was small back in the day. I mean, Zhang Li made this whole thing out of pillars. These things usually have sigils in them.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Ah.
yes. And then in the chasm, they're tragdylites.
Trilobites?
I think that they're referencing the like stone structures that look like seashells that are usually like on the rock walls that you can get
Mhm.
sigils from.
Mm-hmm.
But also like it is kind of crazy that there are these giant seashells everywhere too. I got questions, man.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, they look old enough for that to be accurate because they look really old, and this would have been a long time ago.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're probably the right size of like creepy crawly tentacle things that
Ugh.
could like get into people's houses.
I hate it.
And didn't he say that he imprisoned them in stone? What if
Yeah, that's why it's like it's perfect.
what if they're still in there?
Well, we
Oh,
just
no.
released them all into the world. Maybe they died by then, old age. And that's why we get
Hopefully.
sigils. And that's be the next event. It's gonna be Leeway having a bug infestation. We're gonna ooh.
As long as it's not spiders.
If you 100%ed Leeway, just assume that you have probably released millions of tiny sea organisms.
And Zhongli is having a meltdown.
He's like, I fixed this 500 years ago.
Put all these back.
No, you know what? Zhongli goes, this isn't my problem anymore. Ka-ching. Figure it out. I did nothing anyway. But thank you to Heal for the question. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nahil.
Thank you.
That being said, I do think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for coming and talking with us about our OG, Amber, the true OG of Genshin Impact.
Outrider or die.
Ride or die.
Ride or die.
Outrider or die. I'm dead. Next week, we are going to be talking all about the Master of Death, Hu Tao, and the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor. Until then, safe journeys, travelers. We'll see you next time.
Bye, honey bunnies.
Now I want a honey bun.
Honey bun. Oh, a honey bun.